Before you sleep in any hotel, ask yourself one question: do you really know who owns it? He was just a man trying to feed his family. Came to town for a job interview, booked a cheap hotel, called his wife, smiled, slept peacefully, but he never made it to that interview. He never came back home. Because that hotel was run by a widow, and she was a killer. At the edge of Lakeside Town, just before a narrow, quiet road led into the bushy path, there stood a small hotel painted brown and cream. It had only 10 rooms. Nobody ever called it beautiful. It was basic, cheap and quiet. People only lodged there because it was affordable, especially those who didn't plan to stay long. It was called Sunlight Guest House. The owner was a woman called Mama Grace, a widow in her early 60s. Her hair was always tied in black scarves, and she wore large, dull gowns that made her look harmless. But there was nothing harmless about her. Nobody in Lakeside Town really knew who she was, or where she came from. People only whispered that her husband had died mysteriously years ago, and since then, she had run the hotel alone with her son Kenny. Kenny was in his early 30s. He looked calm in public, soft-spoken, always smiling, but anyone who crossed his path in private would see his true face. He was as evil and cold as his mother, maybe worse. They had a secret, a dark, bloody secret. The hotel was a slaughterhouse. Not every guest was a victim. Only the unlucky ones, those who were alone, had no family nearby, or were desperate enough to lodge in such a cheap place. They were chosen carefully, lured, watched, and when the time was right, sacrificed. The blood fed the spirits Mama Grace served. The pieces were used for rituals, wealth, protection, long life. Some parts were buried. Some were sold. Others were taken far away in the back of a van by Kenny. No trace. No story. They thought they were too clever to be caught. Until one day, a stranger comes to town. Michael James was a man of hope. He had a small family, a beautiful wife, Linda, and 2 lovely kids, Sammy and Tina. They lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment in a crowded city. Things weren't perfect, but there was love in their home. The kind of love money can't buy. Michael was a struggling father, working odd jobs and chasing interviews. When he finally got a message inviting him for a job interview in Lakeside